What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Craftsman podcast. This week, John had to hop off early, so he's not on our intro. We had a guest scheduled. Unfortunately, they had to reschedule. So it's your favorite trio for the week. It's a little short one, but we talk about investing in our business compared to the investment we make in our marriages.
I don't think it's even. Definitely putting more effort into the business.
And then we find out if we think that's a bad thing or not.
Yeah. If you have to put that much work into your marriage, something might be wrong as much as you actually work.
You know what? That's a great point, Tyler. If you have to, I would agree with that. If you have to try that hard, and deal with the same amount of struggle.
Yep.
Not marital advice, but maybe it's time to consider elsewhere.
It's true.
So if your spouse is listening, kick them out. This one's for you guys. This podcast is brought to you by Duration Molding and Millwork. The holy grail of exterior trim and siding is a material that can be milled into virtually any profile. It's easy to work with, is extremely stable, and has an unmatched durability and looks just like wood when it's painted. That's exactly what you get with Duration products. To learn more about Duration, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com and be sure to check them out on Instagram. It's also brought to you by Reno Run. One trip to the hardware store can take an hour or two. And if the crew is doing multiple a day, it slows down a project. You can buy directly from the app and it'll be delivered in as little as 2 hours. Do you know what cities they're in?
I think that their new city is very close to me. Philadelphia.
Philly, the city of brotherly love.
The city of brotherly. Little known fact, I am in New Jersey, very close to Philadelphia, though. I guess it's like the Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas thing.
Oh, gosh. I was so confused with that.
I know.
I'm still not entirely sure.
I mean, I always knew it, but I always thought that it was kind of silly. You said that they're looking to get into Chicago. Is that a known fact?
So they're in Boston, Chicago, and Philly.
Okay.
And there's a few other cities that they're looking into. I don't know what those are yet.
Canada. That's where they originally started.
They started in Canada. They got a pro subscription, gives you free deliveries and returns for $1.99 a month, or $199 per month, I should say. And then
they said on the podcast it was $1.99, and I just got billed $200.
And then if you guys do want free delivery, sign up at podcast.renorun.com/Modern Craftsman.
Yeah, don't make us look bad. Go sign up.
Yeah, that way we get the metrics. We know that we're helping them out. Let's talk about our marriage.
Okay, fine. It doesn't seem like November.
I ordered my first Christmas gift today.
Did you? For yourself?
This morning. No. Well, kind of. It's the it was a no-brainer. It's Lego came out with the Home Alone house, the build. It's got the van and the treehouse, and I was like,
that's amazing.
It's gonna sell out. So I saw it. I was up at I went to bed at 2 a.m. because I was trying to get stuff done. Then woke up at 6 like clockwork, and I was like sitting in bed, and I'm like, done. Came up, bought it because it came out yesterday. Oh, Monday. Grabbed it, and then my wife and I were talking. We'll just have the whole family build it. It's got lots of pieces. So
yeah,
you gonna wear your tape while you do it?
Fuck yeah, dude! I might bring the whole tool belt off of that one.
Level. Bring your torpedo level.
Yeah, put a headlamp on.
One of my customers' kids has Legos, and it's so many Legos, and I mean they keep them neat. They're not like all over the place, but I'm like, I don't even know how you find what pieces you need. They just have this like bins of Legos.
Yeah.
I remember having Legos as a kid. Oh, excuse me. But I feel like it was like my parents wouldn't buy new Lego sets. Somehow we'd just acquire random Lego pieces. It wasn't like you could actually build anything. It was just Lego pieces that are probably from like old sets that were missing stuff that somebody gave to them.
I'm pretty sure we couldn't afford Legos.
I never had a Lego set that you'd like sit down and build. They were just like random Legos. Like I could build a shape with this.
Yeah, I don't think I ever bought a kit. It was always just like random stuff. Like you just build whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Whatever came to your head, but it definitely didn't exist back then. But yeah, I think it's cool.
I wanted
that one.
Playmobil.
What's a Playmobil?
Playmobil was like kind of Lego-ish. It was little figurines and stuff. But like Lego-ish around the same time.
I've never
You
even
never heard
of
of Playmobil?
No.
Come on, man. Look it up.
I'm gonna look it up right now because I have no idea.
You
what you're
definitely
talking
know Playmobil if you saw the Lego. I mean the logo.
I've never seen this stuff.
Really?
That logo means nothing to me.
I mean, it's been around forever. Yeah, Playmobil. They were cool.
They
always had cool stuff. They had like
they have a modern luxury beachside home.
See? Nah, I always liked like you could get a pickup truck that had a trailer and then you could tow dirt bikes and stuff like that with it.
Tyler,
I don't think I ever got one. I just dreamt of it.
I've never seen this in my entire life.
Really? I feel like you're definitely in the minority because I mean they're still making it. Let's see when it came out.
John, have you seen it?
I don't know where. Oh yeah, there's a horse farm Playmobil. Playmobil. I feel like I'd still like Playmobil.
No, dude, I had a sandbox, bro, and I had like GI
sand mites in it.
Oh, yeah, Back to the Future.
When was Playmobil invented? 1974.
Yeah, it looks like a ripoff of Lego.
Nah, it doesn't have tiny little pieces. It's less work, just cooler.
Just less work.
Yeah, we had a sandbox too. I feel like the cat would go out and poop in it, and you'd go in there and it'd be all nasty.
We used to build like whole cities in the sandbox, and at the end of the day, we'd bury the hose in the middle of the sandbox and turn the hose on and flood the city.
Flood it.
And I'll never forget, we accidentally left that hose on for like a week, and I don't even remember how we found. I think it was like, I don't even know how we found out because it was buried, so it was just like leaking out the bottom. It wasn't like you would even see anything.
Yeah.
And I think my dad thought he had like the pool draining like on drain mode and couldn't figure out what it was until he got the water bill.
Jesus,
dude! Speaking of that, we had a house that we're tearing down.
Yeah,
and we just recently killed the water, but the house has been abandoned for like well over a year, and something let go in one of the toilets where it was just like slightly running. So it was just always running water. Dude, they had, I think like, I don't even remember, an $800 water bill,
bro,
for a month.
Dude, I got a client in Chestnut Hill that we're going to knock the house down. They bought it, haven't moved into it. They play tennis at it, and they got an $8,000 bill. And I went there to try and chase. We talked about this in the podcast. I had sent Hunter over to look at it.
I know I talked to you about
it.
Yeah,
and then he couldn't find it, so he shut the water down for the house. And I went back the next day and kind of dug through. It's a huge house, and just where is it going? And then it ended up being like this secondary irrigation line that was leaking. And it was like leaking like a faucet. Like if I gauged the meter, it was leaking like a faucet. So I killed it, and it was like 8,000. But then they got lucky, and the irrigation guy was going to write a letter to the water and sewer department to see if they could get it expunged or whatever.
I just pulled it up. They had used 60 units in Q3, and each unit is 748 gallons.
Could you see where it was going, or no? It was just going in the drain.
It was just going in the drain. So 748 times 60, 45,000 gallons of water.
What a waste.
Right? All because the toilet was just like flowing by.
Running.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me you borrowed water from the neighbor to knock the house down. We do all the time, and you got a crazy bill. It's usually like a bottle of wine. Like, here.
You don't use the fire extinguishers?
No, you don't have to. I put a sprinkler up. We only use a hydrant if there's no access to water. So you pay like a $250 fee, and you have access to it for a day.
It's required in Needham. They require the fire department to be on site hosing it off of a hydrant.
Probably too many cowboys in Needham.
Too many what?
Too many cowboys. Or they just don't trust
As
you.
Yeah.
you're saying not to do that, just get a hose from
Nope.
the neighbor.
Bro, I put a
I'm gonna
sprinkler
wear
up.
my-
I just let a sprinkler just spray and just water the whole property. It's a no-brainer.
Wear my cowboy hat.
I don't need a laborer there. Yeah. I still freak out about dust because then like there's always like 100 kids watching. And you're like,
Right.
dude, how effective is that dust? Like even if it's a little
Mm.
puff. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm all sketched out. I got one of my players hurt last night on the ice. I say that because I organized the drills and I did a drill and I said it to one of the coaches. I'm like, this one, it was like a contact drill. And I was like, I don't know about this one. And I did it and like fucking 6 skaters in, kid dislocated. We thought he hurt his shoulder. And then his dad went and got x-rays last night. He texted me this morning. Kid broke his collarbone.
Oh,
Yeah. I was like, damn it.
Oh man.
how long's he out for?
They're gonna see the ortho today and figure out if it's like on his AC joint, right where it hits your
Yeah.
So hopefully that's better for him. But yeah, it was just a bummer to see one of the kids in pain. He said he had a great season, so it's like I was all pissed off. Like the other coach, like could have happened at practice, could have happened at a game. Just the way he went into one of the other players. Just you're trying to get them comfortable making contact at that age.
How old are they?
13, 14, maybe.
I was watching this documentary on like little kids racing dirt bikes, and there's this race that's the biggest race for these kids. It's on this ranch. It's called Loretta Lynn's, and
She's a singer,
the kids trying.
country singer.
Yeah, so the kids try. They like have it on her ranch, and the kids try and race because it puts them on the map, and they get sponsorships. Because most people riding dirt bikes at a young age are blue collar, so when you get into that, you have to travel every weekend. Like the bikes are expensive, the maintenance is expensive, so they try and land sponsorships early on to pay for it. But like that's all these kids do. And the one kid, he was probably, I don't know, between 10 and 12. They're like, yeah, he broke his collarbone at a race, had surgery the next week, and was back on a bike the next week. Like 2 weeks later, racing again.
Dude,
I'm
dirt
like,
bike
these
guys are
kids are
nuts.
insane.
Dude, one of my form guys was a dirt bike guy, and he was just DA concrete. Shout out to those guys. Dennis had like, if you're not bleeding, you're not working hard enough on his shirt.
Yeah.
And I remember this is the best story. Is that like I was bragging to him that he had poured this foundation and that we were going back in there putting this huge concrete countertop in. We had poured it as a one pour, so it was a waterfall. Poured it. It was concrete poetry. It was before Jason's time. We picked it up. I went and inspected it before we accepted it. That whole thing. It's in his shop, and I approve it. And then we load it up into a flatbed, and I drive behind it and watch it bounce the whole way there. Freaked out. And we get it there, and it's 15 of us lifting this thing into the space. So I'll save you the whole thing. But Dennis, I go, Dennis, dude, you've seen us, 15 of us. Dennis stops, puts his hand on my shoulder, and just goes, 15 of you or 15 of me? And I was like, dude, it was like such an amazing moment in my life that I was like, no, it probably would have been 5 of you. Like I was like, it was such an amazing thing where he's like, dude, we're not cut from the same place. And I'm like, no, you're right. He's like, he'll fall and break an arm and he'll keep forming. Like he'll like put it in a sling later. He's hit trees. You guys are a different breed, bro. Different breed.
Alpha males, right?
No, just fucking crazy. Maybe alpha males. I don't know. I don't think that. I think they're just nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I used to ride, but I never, knock on wood, I never got hurt. Just ripped through the woods as fast as I could.
Dude, it's like when I got my license. I look at it now. I skate back from the wall. I mean, I drive home from the Walpole rink because my kid goes there for school for hockey. And I'm like, I used to remember leaving the rink with my buddy, 2 different cars, and we would drive home at like 2 a.m. Like street signs and lights didn't exist, and I don't know how we're alive. Like we would be flying,
Right.
like we'd be cutting through driveway, like over sidewalks, through people's yards, like. And I'm like, I just worry about my kid getting licensed in a couple of years. I'm just like, what?
You get home and you're like, new record, 7 minutes.
Dude, like, yeah, if that. Like,
Right.
we'd be side by side, though. It was like bonkers. And I look back and like regretting it or thinking of how lucky I was. So now I can't take
Right.
chances now because I definitely used them all up.
Yeah.
But I was just oblivious. Like I remember this one street light we come down and we would just fly down this hill and go right through it. And you can't even see cars coming. Because I stop there every day now. And I'm like, dude, I said to Hunter, I used to fly through this thing. I'm like, don't do it.
I was
Yeah.
driving down the shore and there's this one like off ramp that turns off of a main road, and it's before you get on the parkway heading down the shore. And it's like a half-mile long, but it goes off a main road and gets onto a main road, and in between the two is just straight woods and there's no street lights. And I don't know what made me think of it, because it's now I don't know, 18 years later. But maybe I was driving there and it was dark, and I'm like, we used to get off of Route 73 and turn our lights off and just drive down here, because it was like the darkest road that I could remember with no lights. And right before we got on the expressway, I was like, why the hell would I do that? Just makes no sense whatsoever.
Dude, none.
Like we used to drive, my buddy had this beater. We used to drive around and just like hit trash cans for no reason. Like, what the hell? I have no idea what we were thinking.
I used to do it too.
Just like bumper car with trash
I had a
cans.
ram bar in the front of my car. I'd drive people home and murder all the trash bins to their house and then drop them off and be like, see ya. Dude, I drive around now because I'm in Walpole and I'm just like, there's one part on Route 27 heading into Walpole where I remember we were in traffic and there's a couple of buddies in front of us. And I know this road that like cuts off, forks off, goes straight and then forks back on to 27. I remember I was in like my little Bronco too, not an early Bronco. And I'm like, oh, he's in traffic. I'm going to beat this kid down the side road. So I'm doing like 70 down this road. And then I forgot like it cuts back. I thought it like just kind of merged. And I hit the end of that road and bounce up. And it was like slow motion. The kid in the back seat, it's like shoulder blades are up against the roof. And we all look over at the other car that we were racing and they're beside us and their faces are like just straight shock and awe because we're like 3 feet in the air in my truck, just like, and then we hit and bounce, and I'm like, another opportunity to die, and I had no idea.
Right.
And we no problem. We just cut back on the road like it was no big deal. But like I drive by that now and go, God, look at that memory. Like I said, no more chances.
I had one of my buddies he was way younger than us, and his parents were older, so he was definitely a mistake. I think when we were 16 or so, his brothers, they're like 20 years older than us. So his parents were much older too, and they used to go out every like Tuesday or Wednesday night to dinner. And he used to come pick me up in his parents' car when they had another car when he was probably 15 or 16, and just joyride it around the neighborhoods, just like emergency brakes, skidding. Like every week when his parents would go out, it's like I look back at a lot of things that we did, and I'm glad that I have daughters. I just hope they don't get in cars with guys.
No, my son said the other day, I coach a kid, I'm not going to use his real name, and he's just like, hey, Bill's he's turning 16. They're all freshmen. He's going to have his learner's permit this year. And I'm like, how is that possible as a freshman? And I go, furthermore, I don't care how old he is. I don't think you should get in the car with Bill. I'm just like, even if the kid's 18 and been driving for 2 years, I'm like, I've seen this kid around.
Yeah,
like, I understand him. I just don't know if he can do two things at once, which is drive and pay attention to his friends.
Right.
I'm like, you're out.
Dude, I'll never forget. I had a group of friends. They'd go and take the trays from like McDonald's or like a fast food place, and they'd put them under the rear wheels of their car. They'd back up, put the rear tires on it, pull the e-brake, and then they would drive, and the back end would just slide like it was on a set of skis down the street.
It's pretty sick, actually.
Until it wore through the plastic.
That's dope.
That was.
I would do that today.
There was like a mini, like one kid had a minivan. It was just like the thing would be like sliding all around the parking lot. It was hilarious. But man, John, you want to talk about a topic today?
You like that one?
I do. I'm afraid of it.
What are you afraid of?
I don't know.
I feel like we work on our business a lot, and I know for a fact I take my relationship with my wife for granted. I mean, just
Yeah.
between coaching 2 hockey teams, working like crazy to try and put all the pieces together every week, and then like we just had our 16th year anniversary, and it was like another day, like another Monday. And I mean, I definitely I got a card and that stuff, but it just like I think about like, do I work if I put as much effort into my company as I do my relationship with my wife, like it would be so much better. But I don't think we're bad off, you know.
I'm gonna fix my audio real quick.
Yeah. You're not pausing because of the situation. You're pausing because of the sound. I texted Nick saying he's
maybe a
coming
little bit of both.
Let's
see here. No, it says I'm coming through this.
Tyler, what do you think?
I can't tell.
Like I can tell through your sound. It definitely sounds like
Yeah.
Nick's coming from. Doesn't matter.
All right. Yeah. I'm not gonna log back out. I'll bring this closer to me, I guess.
We're getting intimate. I like it.
Well, like, so that comment, like that, you know, do you feel like your marriage requires that as much attention?
Yeah, no, I think, but if I put the effort into it,
what would be different?
No, but it's like, yeah, I would 100%. Like this week, I was like, hey, like we have Tuesday night and Wednesday night off from hockey and sports, kind of soccer's earlier. I'm like, you want to go to dinner? Like date night. You know how many IG stories I watch and like, oh, we're going to date. They're not bragging. They're just going to date night. I'm like, fuck you. like me being rude and judging them for having success that I don't have. But
do you, but like, why don't you?
That's the thing. Why don't I? Because like, maybe I just want to sit down and it's selfish.
But does she ask?
No, I know. We talked about that too. It's like, well, the effort's got to go. I'll be like, hey, let's do lunch. And it's like, well, it didn't line up, or I got something going on, or there's always something. And there always is something. So it just, but if we put the effort in, we could say the same thing about our work. I didn't get to that because something came up, but you'll stay up till 2. You know, right. I don't know. The missus brought up the other day and she's just like, what do you think?
That's what I was just going to ask is like, do you think, like, I always like revert back to, you know, what do we fight about? Right. Like, you know, what do Meg and I fight about? And it's like, all right, well, like, you know, that's a legitimate reason for her to be upset with me. And it's like, what was the ultimate cause of that? And the ultimate cause was, well, I was late. Like I said, I'd be home at 6 and I was home at 6:40. You know, that's the number one thing. And it's,
I think that's still a gimme in my house. If I'm still within like 6,
I have never had a gimme on time.
I'm just saying, like, if I say 6 and it's like 7:40, I'm on the brink of like.
No, it's like now we live across the street from a church. So if I'm not home at 6, I'm getting there. If I'm not home, if I come home and the church bells don't ring when I come home.
Oh.
Yeah, they're basically ringing, and that triggers he's late. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Go shut that shit
down. That
so
one
like,
through.
Now I like rush home. I'm like in the door, like running up the stairs, and it's like I open the door. It's like bing bong, bing.
Got
bong.
it. You're on the stairs, just
like,
pumping
right on time.
That's awesome.
But it like, you know, because I think that sometimes, and John, like we talk about this all the time, is like, you know, we make these problems in our mind where it's like, well, you know, so-and-so is going on date night and I haven't went on a date with my wife in, you know, 5 years. And not saying that that's a good thing, but like, but is it a bad thing or is it hurting your relationship? Well, like, do you find that important? I get what the 5 love languages or whatever, like what's important to you for like in being loved, and what would be important to her in being loved. Like Meg's love language, I know one of them is quality time. Like she likes spending time together. And it's like when that's why like me being late or me not being available or doing something instead of going out to see a concert or something, like that's, you know, those are the things that she appreciates.
No, true. It just like you guys are getting into it, but like you're gonna have less and less of it. You know, as the kids start doing more stuff. And I said to her, I'm like, I feel like like I brought up Jeff Sweener. I'm like, Jeff's on the back nine. Like he stayed in shape. His kids are off. Now it's just you two. Like now you get to enjoy your space. Now it's like I here's what it comes down to. I said this comment like months and months ago where I was listening to a podcast about being a parent because I'm like I got a dog again. Okay. I had a dog. I don't know, before we got married, we had a dog, 2 of them. And I was like, I wasn't the best dog owner. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. You know, I brought him to the 4th of July in Walpole. And like, I think about it back and I'm like, there's a billion people there in this fireworks. And you wonder why you scarred that dog for life. You know, and there's times where my best friend that lived with me in my first house would walk in the house with a hoodie on and creep in, and the dog would like try and defend the house. And we thought it was funny, or like squirrel, all these stupid things. But now I'm like, I look at it like I was a decent dog owner, but it was my first time. You know, think about it. Like when you date and you do all that, you're like, oh, well, you know, you're not going to expect to, people do it, but marry that first girl. Like you don't know what a relationship is. You haven't defined it yet. And it's like, you know, we get to build these houses over and over again and get better at it. You know, we're only married once. We've only gone after this kind of quest once. And I'd hate to know after 16 years, I've just been doing a really shitty job of it. You know, so it's like, how can I do it better as if it was anything else? That's all I'm saying. It's just, how can we give each other the best? I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to like a counselor when shit's broke.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I'd say that a lot of it is just ensuring that you don't go too long without being aware of each other's needs. Like it would be amazing if we could set aside time to go out once a week, just the two of us. Right now, that's just it's not realistic with life and with kids and everything else. So we don't. I'm the type, and my wife knows it, where if we're gonna have to do something that's going to create angst and stress, it's almost better just not to do that. Um, so we do, we try and go out every once in a while and get a sitter and do that. It's usually not during the weeknight. But I don't know how many times that we've done something like that or planned for something like that. Then we get the kids out of our hair and we're like, do you really feel like going out, or would you rather just sit home? But I think, like you said, it's making sure that, you guys are aware of each other's need and that you still do make each other feel special. But it's obviously your relationship isn't going to be like when you first met. But I think that doing special things and ensuring that the person understands that you care and that you are on the same team and that you're looking out for them, and even giving them, I know a big thing for my wife is giving her alone time, just because, the kids, if they have a choice, they're going to go to my wife just because that's the way it's always been. So I think that more important than us going out and spending time with each other is making sure that she has times throughout the month, the year, where she can go out and have, even if it's just an hour or two without somebody up her ass.
Mm-hmm. It's
but
like you could stay home on a Wednesday, but then we got to cook and clean up and all that stuff. So it's like you're just adding to the chaos in a way.
Yeah. I would love to be able to, set time aside once a week. I think the difficult part about that and being self-employed is that it's not quite as easy, and I think, and this isn't to take anything away from when you work for somebody else, but if we had 9 to 5s, and or if I had a 9 to 5 and I could come home at 5 and not have anything on my plate until the next day, I wouldn't have as much trouble, saying, hey, let's drop the kids off at your parents and go grab dinner. And then when we get home, we just have to get the kids in bed and have nothing to clean up. But it's, there's usually a million things on my plate where it's like to go spend 2.5, 3 hours out where I still have all of these things to do before tomorrow. It's difficult during the week.
My wife gave an example. Like if we were to like go to counseling or like try and make time for lunch, I don't know if you guys ever watched Entourage and Ari Gold. You ever watch Ari in that one go to like a counselor? She's like, you can't have your phone in here. He's like, but my world revolves around my phone. He keeps like,
Yeah.
no, and she's like, that's gonna be you at one of these things. I'm like, shut up. And I thought about it longer. And I'm like, that's probably close, but without the anger and frustration, probably more frustration. But yeah, I just like, I guess I just want to make sure that like we don't argue, we don't do any of that stuff, but it's I'm astonished by it. Like I really am. Sometimes just like we should just throw down. Just so I know what it's like, you know. But it's at the same moment, it just like there's so much going on.
Do you think it's underlying? Like, do you think she's frustrated but chooses not to fight with you?
No, I don't know. I think she would get super quiet and probably ignore me for like a week. Yeah, I mean, she'd definitely get her presence known for whatever the situation. She doesn't beat around the bush. I just don't, like you said, hey, does she ask to go out?
Right.
And it's like I don't think of it as a scoreboard. You know, it's more like if we can, I would love it. Like we were supposed to go out. I don't know. It's funny. I go out all the time. That's the problem. Like I'll make time for hockey and I'll coach, and like tonight I'll skate at 9:40 and I'll skate again on Thursday. And I'm like, but you know, like we talked about this in the podcast. What do we do? Like Tyler, 2 years ago, you weren't doing dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And I love that you are. You know, Nick took up running, and you know, and now he hires people to play with his cars. That's a really cool hobby, Nick. Hey, did you get the rear differential on? But it's cool. But like,
shut up, man.
But it's just like, how do you? I don't know. It's just I love to chase my wife, and I'll always be like that. You know, with that super clingy.
I think
guy.
Being aware of that kind of shows if you were going through the motions and just completely unaware of what your wife needs and how she feels, and just inconsiderate to the things that she needs in your relationship, I think it'd be a different story. I think that a lot of times, I know at least my wife's very understanding with everything, and she does want the best for me, because typically when I'm doing the best mentally and my health is the best, our family life, our marriage is the best. So I think being aware of your relationship and making, again, I think that so much of it is making them feel wanted and loved, and not really. I know that spark that you initially had isn't always there, with time. It's just not going to be the same as it was when you first met. But I think that, ensuring that they understand how you feel and that they're still special and that you're still carving out time for them. I know that's important, and just understanding, being aware of that, I think is huge. Even if they recognize that effort, it may not be perfect. Your relationship might not be perfect. Your effort may not be perfect, but as long as the effort's there, I think a lot of times that's more of what they want than this fairy tale life and romance.
Very true.
Kids screw everything up too.
They do, but
they make it harder.
Right, they make it harder, but I think at the same time, like I want to be cognizant of the crazy effort we put in for our companies. Like when we go home and I talk about all these different things, or not even the companies, just what we do for our clients. And to think about, like, if my wife came home and kept telling me about all the stuff for the client, and we hadn't been to dinner in like 6 months to a year, it's like, yo, you can't cut off a little bit of that, hustle for me.
Yeah.
And so I do want to be cognizant of that, because it's like I have been grinding. We did a podcast with 188, and I was like in the struggle bus, and I'm like, and I'm just trying to put that. I think if I put that together, then I'll have more time. But I don't know. I always relate to movies. You guys ever watch the movie Click with Adam Sandler?
No.
He's he's
an
architect, and he tries to fast forward through a bunch of bullshit so he can be successful.
Yeah.
And then he gets to be successful, and he's missed everything. So like in my world, I'm like, I don't want to be doing that, where it's like I just want to have that get through the next hump, because I'm going to be on to the hump after that. And I just don't want to miss a moment. Like I've made a drastic, I don't coach my younger son, so I tend to not be at practice. Like all the parents drop off their kids, and I don't go to his practices, and I'd miss like half the games because they conflict with hockey that I coach. And so this year I'm like, I'm going to make a massive effort to be at, probably catch 2 of his practices and stay for them all, and then catch all his games. And it's made a huge difference in his life. And it's like, have I missed that moment, or should I have done the same thing with the misses?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and it's like, it's hard to relate it to a business because the business is done. There's obviously from at the core of it, like the reason that we own our own businesses isn't really because we want to support our family. It's I think there's
underlying,
and it's of course we want to support our family, but there is like, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but like there is an egotistical reason that we do some of this stuff.
A lot of it's not for them, it's for us.
Right. It's like, like, and I do think that that's a common like argument, right? Where like a spouse, like husband and wife, spouse, whatever, they fight, and it's like, yeah, but I'm the one that, like, I'm building this business to provide a life for my family, and the opposite's like, I don't give a shit what you do for work. Like whether you get a job, whether you work full-time part, like that's not the point of it. I didn't tell you to start a business. And that's what I think where, just from like my experience going back, like one thing I wanted to address is like, you talked about like possibly going to therapy, to kind of be really transparent. Like Meg and I went to therapy at one point because we were afraid that like we had outside things controlling how our relationship was going to continue. And we weren't like on the brink of divorce by any means.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's what you were saying is like, you don't want to be in a point where it's like, this is the last effort.
Yeah. You don't want to be there because it's all stressful.
Right. And it's like, and we decided to go because we felt as though we were having a hard time communicating, what like we wanted each other to know. And surprise, surprise, Meg thought I was a narcissist, but
I wish people could see that the smirk started way before he came out with that comment.
But and I was so mad, and I was like, I'm not a narcissist. And I remember the counselor was like, she was like, he's not, like by definition he is not. Does he have narcissistic tendencies? Of course, everyone has some. His are just higher than what yours are, which that makes sense. Like, I'm not like, I'm aware of that. Like, like I said, I'm building this business for me. Ultimately, it's gonna, my family will benefit. But I've realized that that's not an argument. So me being late because I had to work or a proposal was due, like, can easily be, received as I was bad with my time management. Well, maybe you shouldn't have got a coffee this morning. You should have just worked on the proposal and you would have been home on time.
Or you could have called Breno Run.
Hey, instead of going to Home Depot, you should have called Run or Run. If you guys want free shipping, go to podcast.runorun/Modern Craftsman. Back to it. But like it becomes like, well, it can be this back and forth, and you use the reference scoreboard, John, and I think that's a great, another great one that oftentimes people keep score, and it's like, why are you keeping score?
Yeah,
it's like all you're doing, like, and I'm divulging a lot of personal information.
I just love all the smirks. He's not even facing the screen.
I'm not. I'm like, I have my feet up.
He's reading his diary.
I'm like in the relaxed position here.
We're in the nest. We're in the nest here.
But recently, like, the whole being late thing came up, and Meg and I got in a little argument about it, and I was just like, I'm not. It's not like I'm like 5 or 10 minutes late. Like, you got to give me that. She's like, Nick, you're not. It's like 45 minutes late. I have 3 kids screaming. They're, our kids are young, and like, you come home, you get them all riled up, and then it's like, then it's bedtime. And I'm like, there's no way I'm home that late. So I started writing down exactly what time I walked through the door. And I would, well, but it was for me at first, right? So I'm just like, all right, maybe I'm like completely oblivious. So I just started writing it down, and then we got into
cognizant of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got into a little like she came at me for something. She goes, "You haven't been on time all week." I'm like, "Oh, wait a second. Yes, I was. I was home at 5:58 yesterday." She She looks at me like in pure disgust. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, what am I thinking? What am I thinking?
One of those conversations that doesn't need any words.
Yeah. She's like, okay, I got you. Yeah.
I want to get to the point in my life and my relationship where I if a customer called me at 9 o'clock at night and there was a leak, I know that I would run over there.
Mhm.
But my wife will oftentimes ask me to come home from work at 3 o'clock to get the girls off the bus.
Mhm.
And I'm very hesitant to do that. And she's like, well, I'll get my parents to do it, or I'll ask the neighbors, or can you take the girls to the dentist? And she always prefaces it, if you can't, it's okay, I'll figure something else out. And I a lot of times um don't do it because I know that she'll figure it out. And I would love to get to a point in my relationship where she doesn't need to preface those things by, if you can't,
Mm.
I'll figure it out. A lot of times I feel as though my time is more valuable than hers or other people, because I have all this stuff going on, I'm the only person to do it, which is I mean, that's a mental outlook that I don't think is necessarily accurate. And, I would love to be able to have zero hesitation and put my family, as an equal to a customer, where it doesn't matter, at the drop of a hat, I'll go to help a customer out. And, a lot of times not even be upset about it. Just say, hey, it's 9 o'clock at night. This is my responsibility as a business owner. It sucks, but I'll do it. But then when I have to go pick the girls up from an after school program and I have to leave the job early, I'm pissed off about it, or I'm stressed out because I didn't get what I want to done.
Mm.
That's something for me that I would like to be better at. Not even that I need to make it happen more, but just that my wife could count on me more to be able to do that. I think, again, it's about the effort there. And I think that would be a big step for me to kind of put my family on an even playing field with how I put my customers, because I that's what upsets me, is when I'll do anything for customers, and a lot of times I'll do anything for customers who don't treat me well, or things are going bad and they're not treating you well, so you're trying even harder, devoting more time to it, where that's the situation where you should be like, screw you. Like, there's more important things in my life, like my family and everything else, and I'd like to be able to devote that much energy to my family, more so than to customers.
Do you guys find that um this is weird, is that like if when you're saying that, time I'm thinking of a situation where I got a call for a situation on a job site and had to go solve it. This was the day leading up to our last employee being let go. And I had to go take care of that. And I took care of that situation. And before I blinked, I realized that I couldn't make it to hockey practice with my son. And I was going to pick up another kid. I can't tell you. This is my question is, I can't tell you how distraught I was about that situation and letting my son down. He was totally cool. He's like, Dad, I get it. I'm like, we're not going to make it, man. I deal with something at work, blah, blah. And I try and make everything insane. What I say about when I talk to a client and make it not about like my kids or whatever family, same thing. I try not to make work affect, my kids. Is that like, hey, at work, I couldn't make practice because of this. But it's weird. Like I look at it going, I don't know if I'd be that distraught if it was different and my wife had dinner on the table at 7 and I missed that appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, not practice. I felt so much worse that I was letting Hunter down than I would have my wife. And I'm trying to figure out why that is. Is it because like I'm in this relationship that like it's bonded together? Like I know I'm still influencing Hunter, where I think I'm done influencing my wife. Like she's on her own path and she just knows what she's dealing with. I don't know.
No, I think that we understand how far we can push, and dinner is somewhat of a more common occurrence. And it's you have this limited time with your children, and it's not that it's different with your wife, but how many years you going to have the opportunity to coach with your kids and to create that bond. And I think that we feel guilty for not giving them the time that we should growing up and want to be present in those situations where dinner should be the same thing. It shouldn't be any different. We shouldn't take advantage of them where
Exactly. It
they
should be
busted
equal.
their butt to get dinner on the table. It should be. It shouldn't. But I think that we kind of justify that because we've done it how many times in the past and we've kind of gotten over being upset about it, or they haven't said anything, or we just tell ourselves, this is how we're providing, this is how we're making a living. We'll still eat, we'll still see them when we get home. Um, but it probably shouldn't be. I don't think that it should be one and the same there. If you said you were going to be home for dinner, you said you were going to take your kid to practice, it should be the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try and harness that where it's like, dude, you were pissed off that like that whole situation happened, and again, I guess it resulted in me making a correction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so that way I make sure that it wouldn't happen again because there was a line in the sand, I guess, at that point. But no, it just makes me rethink certain. I mean, I think everything way too much. I forget someone said something to me the other day. Oh, about last night when the kid got hurt, and the other coaches, I was like, I could tell the kid was looking weird, so we put him on the bench and then took him off the ice, and I stayed with him, and then his dad came down, and they even texted me today like, it's not your fault. But I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna live with this for a minute where I'm rethinking, should I have done that drill? Should I have prefaced that drill differently? Should I have evened off certain kids? And even the coach was like, they were the two biggest kids. So I think part of my, as you would say, Tyler, ethos is that I do take everything personal, and that's what makes me successful. But at the same time, it's like, why am I taking that for granted is the question. And should I be in trying to make that effort where I'm not going to get a Valentine's Day card or a Mother's Day card that morning where everyone else has picked through all the shit. Like, I should be a week. Like, I bought that gift on Lego. Like, what have I done for my wife? I can't like put that into the mix and be like, babe, you got 25% of the Lego house to build. Like, that's not part of the game. And I feel like we do roll a lot of stuff in, and the whole kids thing gets screwed up. But at the same point is like, I try, like Tyler, you said, I try and take advantage of, if I'm driving home and I know that light sucks or that traffic spot is horrible, dude, my phone's out, or I'm taking notes, or I'm trying to get an email off, or draft the IG post that I'm never going to post, and try and do all these things. But it's like, am I putting that same effort into my marriage? And full disclosure, Nick, we're going to try and go to counseling just to kind of give it a shot and be like, hey, how can we make this the best marriage we have? We're okay with it, but I don't want to go through anything okay. And it's like, let's give it a shot.
It's like it's to relate it back to your business. It's like, you're not trying to be a mediocre builder.
No.
And it's like, to be in, again, not judging your relationship, but to be in a mediocre relationship, it's like, you guys are just kind of letting time pass. And it sounds like you guys and I've, obviously met Tara, but you guys have similar personalities where it's like, you guys are both busy. You like being busy. You like having things to do. And when you guys get your, one-on-one time, it's fine. And it's not, and the one thing like I'll say about Meg is that like, she's stubborn and she holds me super accountable, and and she makes me aware of when she's mad. Like, and I'm not saying she's always right. And I'm definitely saying,
I'd rather have it known.
But right. And that's what I'm getting is that like, as much as that's so frustrating, and like, there's sometimes where I just look at her, I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I understand what you're mad at, but you have no idea what I'm going through right now. And I'm not even going to try to explain it to you, because it's just a poor time for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It would be me going on the defense of like the reasons as to why I'm late, why, I didn't pick up dinner, whatever the case is. But like, what I love about that is that it makes me super aware of the things that I do, and makes me constantly correct.
It is, but I also feel that it has to be give and take.
Totally.
It can't just be like, my wife is very understanding, and I'm probably, if anything, taking advantage of that, because I know, if she understands, if I'm running late, it's because I have to be running late, and there's a reason for that. So rather than say, hey, we have this, we have this, we have this, and be up my ass or get upset with me, she knows that I don't want to be there. Something went wrong. And she knows that if she were to make me come home, or demand that it would just make the rest of the night even that much worse. But I think, it has to be give and take. It can't just be me doing that all the time, or, her always letting me slide. She also has to put her foot down sometimes, or she needs to tell me when she really needs help.
Mhm.
I think it's the same with your situation. It's very easy to say you have to be home at 6 every day, but it's also unrealistic for that to be the case.
Totally. And to like the defense of that is that it's not about being home at 6, it's that that's the threshold.
Mhm.
Meaning like if you're not going to be home at 6,
Tell me.
let me know before 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really bad at, is that I think I can make it, I can fit it in. I do the same thing as John's doing right now. I got my
Yeah.
Waze app opened up, and when I'm somewhere, I'm watching it. 'Cause I learned this from you because you used to do it from when we left the studio. But I watch it and be like, all right, if I leave right now, I have 1 extra minute and I'll be home on time, and those church bells won't ring.
Mhm.
And it's like, we take advantage of the people that are closest to us. This like goes to working with good clients and bad clients. It's like we and we're not doing it on purpose. I would like to think that, but it's like we take advantage of the people that are close to us because we expect them to be the most malleable when it comes to our needs. Especially when someone's running a business, it's like, you tend to forget what is important to those people, what they need and expect, and oftentimes get frustrated when they don't completely understand what you're going through, what is impacting the decision as to why you're late.
I think it just like when I get home, like it's my comfort spot. Like I'm in my safe spot where I can shut down, not have my defenses up, and not be ready to accept the next problem or the next design element or the next thing to chase. And it's
Mm.
like, all right, maybe I just want to shut down, but maybe that's not what my wife wants. Maybe I need to go do the dishes. Mowing the lawn isn't going to even the scoreboard out per se, So I guess that's what I was getting at, is just how much effort. And I guess I wanted to throw it out there. That way I feel like it's like my retirement. I'm going to focus on it bits and pieces throughout my life and hope that there's a big windfall when I do a product or I buy a rental or whatever else is. But if it falls apart before then I'm kind of screwed. So if I take my relationship for granted, and I feel like once I get through this push of my kids being 10 to 14 and the crazy, and you also, I mean, I do, is I look at other parents and I'm like, dude, they never see each other. They're fine. We're better than them. Like we're better. Like we're making
But
more
now, like,
contact.
you're making different threshold. Like you're creating different thresholds.
No, I'm making straight up assumptions. I have no idea if they're a train wreck. I don't know how
Right.
often they really do see each other. I see them in passing when I'm in passing. So the reality of that is that's me comforting myself for my own shortcomings if I'm trying to compensate. So it's really, I don't know. It's a good topic. I hate the fact I got a boogie to a client meeting that I set up by accident for podcast day. I'm super. It's going to be like a half hour.
Not to be confused with a date night.
No, I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm pumped.
There you go.
And I threw it out there. I was like, yo, Tuesday, Thursday, we don't have any sports. Like usually we have sports all week. And I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to hit, She's like, where do you want to go? I'm like, I was thinking here, but lay it on me. And she's like, let's go here. I'm like, I'll schedule it. She goes, I can do it on the app. It's super easy. I'm like, done. Let's roll. So now I'm already like, how do I get dressed up tomorrow? I can't wear my work pants to dinner. Like, we got to make this thing a thing. I got to do my hair. Like I guess I really do enjoy our time. Like we were supposed to go to a dinner, not a dinner, but there was a local, a neighbor of ours. This is when I got COVID and I was cleared, but some of the people said you shouldn't go because it's blah, blah. So we didn't go, but they have a barn. They have a barn party every year, and they have, what was it? I always want to say Three Doors Down, but it was some other band. Like that, like like the 90s bands, they have them there.
Matchbox 20 or something.
Yeah, something like that, exactly. And it's always good. But like we would go to that.
Maybe it was better than Ezra.
No, definitely not that one. It's but it was like we usually kind of mosey on to the side and catch up at those events.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't get to go, and I was like, I was bummed, she was bummed, but I didn't take the initiative to be like, let's go make my own little one-on-one moment. at dinner.
Mhm.
And I'm pissed that I didn't do that because I was like coming back from COVID. I'm like, I got to ramp back up and take care of the company, not, I don't know,
Right.
focus.
Well, I mean, I think one of the last pieces I'd like to add here.
You guys can keep going for sure.
No, I know. Well, but I think this is a really important topic for all of us. But the one thing, like, especially when you're on, you just made a reference where, like, always like waiting for that big win later on for your retirement, which I think is, I think I have to legally say, this is not investment advice, but like, I think of it the
If
same way.
anyone thinks that we're here to advise you of your relationships and your
But I think
business,
like this, I think that's like a legit thing. You got to say it, like, hey, but it's the same. I feel like it's the same, and I don't actually invest, so I'm not. This isn't my advice from my experience, but it's the same thing with like stocks or investments. It's like everyone's like waiting for a particular time to start, and it's like, you just have to start. And it's the same thing with the marriage. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna wait till my kids are off to school, and and we'll be able to focus on a relationship again. It's like, no, it doesn't.
could be too
Like,
late.
it's not a switch. It's, you have to just immediately start making, the effort to make that focus.
Yeah, and to think that you're going to have the relationship that you had before kids is absurd. You're beating your head against the wall. But I think that you do have to put effort forth to still have a relationship with just the two of you with the kids set aside. Because you're going to raise these kids for 18 years. At this point, I feel like everyone moves home until they're 25, 30 years old now, but you're going to have a life with these kids. And if it's just about them, if it's just about the family unit, and when the kids finally move and get on their way, you're not going to understand your relationship with your wife anymore. All right, John. So yeah.
See you, boys.
So I think it's really important to still maintain some sort of relationship that you guys still have and continue to grow in that relationship some. And it's not going to be, to think that it's going to be like it was before is unrealistic and silly, but you do have to figure out how to kind of grow and maintain that relationship with your wife, as a couple, aside from your kids, because that's the hardest part, is that now you have something that takes all of your attention, all of your free time, um, headaches, and everything else. That most of the time, by the time the kids get in bed, it's like, I don't want to do anything but sit down or go to sleep. I don't want to have a conversation about life. I don't want to go out to dinner. So it's finding how you can work those times in, without kids, and maintaining that relationship. And I definitely don't have the answer. I don't have,
Mhm.
um, it's little things that we try, but I don't know the best way to go about that. And I can't give everyone this advice where you do this and it's going to be a game changer for you. I think that every situation is different, every relationship's different, and I think that you need to sort that out with your spouse. And I think that, just being aware of that and having that conversation with them is probably more than half the battle. Just showing them that you actually care and that they're a priority for you,
Right.
and that you guys still have a relationship outside of work and the kids, I think is going to be a big deal to them.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it's the same thing with work, and like you said, it comes down to communication and just like really understanding what the expectations are, from each other. And then, but also, I think that beyond that, it's also being okay and comfortable with the fact that not all those expectations can and will be met. There's
Yeah, I
things
mean,
that like there's things that that frustrate me about my wife, but she's not going to necessarily change.
yep.
It's like she values things differently than I do. She values, spending more time, as a family, at the end of the night where I'm trying to like I want the house clean because it makes me calm. She's like, just leave it. We'll clean it up later. I'm like, it's like I can't. It's like I just want the house clean, and then I feel like I can relax and focus on hanging out with the kids and playing and getting them ready for bed. Where it's like if I leave it, then it's like that's all I'm thinking about. It's the fact that all right, let's get these kids in bed so I can go downstairs and clean the house.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone just has to adapt as much as possible, and
Mhm,
you have to have a comprehensive understanding of what makes your partner tick
mhm,
and what they need in a relationship. And if there's something that somebody needs that you know how to get for them, you need to work that into your lifestyle and to your daily routine. If there's something that you can do, even if it makes your life a little bit harder, but it really frees them up or it just makes them happy, you need to restructure your life and your thinking and your habits to be able to kind of make that happen for that person. And it's all give and take. It's not black and white. There's no single definitive answer. I think it's one of those things that you just have to constantly be
mm,
working on and constantly put effort into. And maybe some things stick and some things don't, but I think that if you're cognizant of it and you're aware of it and you're working towards a common goal, that I think that you're going to be better off. But it's definitely it's not going to be perfect all the time. You're not going to be happy all the time. Your relationship is going to have its strains. And I guess the goal there is to come out on the other side stronger and better for it. And I think that that's going to really strengthen your relationship with your partner.
dude. I think we should open this up to our listeners and get some. Let's open a dialogue about investing in our businesses, compared to our marriages, and what If you guys are listening, obviously Instagram is the best communicator. Share with us what has worked for you. Are you guys setting time aside for your spouse? Are you making you know is it a date night? I know for Meg and I, live music is back open. We went to our first concert last night in 18 months or something like that. And it's like, and we're going to another one the end of this week. And it's like, that's what we started dating and loving, what we love doing together. And the fact that like that was taken away from us for so long, I think being back last night was reminded us of why we're together in the things that we enjoy doing together.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good idea. I think that we could all definitely improve our relationships. Nobody has a perfect relationship. I would say that it's probably more imperfect than you realize, and what you see on social media isn't necessarily indicative of what life is like. But yeah, definitely share if you have things that you do, or just I think that perspective is key for everyone. Where what are you doing? How much time are you setting aside? How are you devoting time to your partner aside from kids, aside from work and everything
Mm,
else?
totally. I did have a review I wanted to read you, Tyler.
Okay.
So it's I just do what they tell me from JWW.
Whoa.
Tyler said I should pull over and leave a review, so I did. And
Damn.
these are allegedly the three most handsome men in podcasting. So I want to be in their good favor. These guys aren't just making sausages, they are reshaping the industry. I started my business vicariously under their tutelage and listen every week.
Tutelage? Tutelage.
What's
Tutelage.
what's tutelage mean?
I feel like it's advice.
Advice. That makes sense. I learn a new word every time I read one of these reviews. Listening to one single episode is not going to change your life, but listening regularly will start to imbibe you with mentality needed for success in this business. Real success, how to balance life, work, craft, and challenges. I just do whatever they tell me, and it's worked so far, and you should too. Interesting how he talks about balancing life and work and the end of that, because that's what we're talking about today, but specifically marriage.
Kind of want to. That's a pretty good review.
Mm. There's only 1 star though.
It's all right. Doesn't really matter.
Just kidding.
It's
iTunes only allows 5 stars.
um
I mean, no, let me say that again. We're only allowing 5 star
yeah.
reviews.
I'm glad that it was just that easy though. Just listen to us and you'll have it set. You start the business, you're good to
Imagine.
go. Just 1, 2, 3.
You know what? I feel like I should start listening to this podcast and listening to what we
Same.
talk about.
Then I'll have it figured out. Most of the time I'm just mindlessly meandering through my thoughts in my head, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be saying this out loud.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what makes this great.
Yeah.
you
Well,
guys
thanks
want,
for the review. I think more people should pull over and leave a review.
there you go. How are we doing? We're 965 reviews.
Still a bit away. I've been responding to people's stories when they post them and asking them to leave a review just so we can keep going, keep moving forward with it. We got to hit 1,000 soon.
Yeah, 35 more
I know
reviews.
it's a pain in the butt.
It
People
is.
send me surveys. You want to take a review, hop on. But it does help us out. And it even if you just go on and leave a quick sentence, take 5 minutes of your day, we're taking how many hours of our day to set aside and record this on a weekly basis as much as possible. So, a quick 5-10 minutes max. You could do it while you're going to the bathroom at work.
Mm-hmm.
If you work for someone, it'll be on your boss's dime. So
There you go.
I'm giving you permission.
We cannot be held responsible for the time that's spent in the bathroom.
Nope, but you'll get paid while you're doing it. So
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. Well, if you want to give us some feedback, hit that Instagram link in bio. Survey Monkey John takes that. Have some guest reviews coming up. Who do we have coming next week, actually? Let me take a quick peek here. Tyler, you got it handy?
no, I don't.
All right.
It
I
just
wasn't
logged me
prepared.
out of my email for
Hold
some
on,
reason.
hold on. If we just keep chatting while I wait for this to load, it will be perfectly timed all the way to this very moment, which next week we have Ben Morton. Ben Morton is with Ben Morton Builder.com, Morton.Ben on Instagram. And he wants to talk about how he got into building and his personal story and everything he's learned along the way. So we look forward to chatting with Ben. And with that being said, guys, we will talk to you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Duration Molding and Millwork. Tired of using plastic and fiber cement on your builds? You're not alone. Discover the tremendous benefits of Duration Poly Ash products. Bring to the table and see why users say it checks all the boxes. To learn more about Duration, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com. Be sure to check them out on Instagram. Podcast is also brought to you by Reno Run. Reno Run is focused on ensuring the crew is taken care of. So whether it's saving them from a trip to the hardware store or getting coffee to the job site, they have you covered.
I think you got to start using that coffee to the job site. You're going to be able to get home on time. Your wife will be happy. Shoot, have them run errands for your wife. I'm sure they would do it.
I almost did.
Listen, it's our anniversary. I really need this, and this picked up and drop off at my house. Can you do that for us?
Come on, please. I'll tag you.
I feel like they would.
That could just be a whole business.
Or we could just do it ourselves.
Yeah, I think they're actually.
But why would you do that if Reno Run will do it?
All right, let's give it a shot.
The husband that you don't have, but you want.
Reno
Run.